Shalom. I want to start by giving all the praises, glory, and honor unto YAHAWAH, BaHa, YAHAWASHI, QADASH. Double honors to my teachers, the elder apostles of the great millstone, who were well, and peace and salutations. Much love and respect to all the fellow laborers of the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And I was watching the elder apostle Tahar's video, and it sparked me to go and watch this original video that he was responding to. This guy, Ron Dalton. He's basically known for his Hebrews to Negroes documentary. And I guess that, put him on a level in Israel. So, the guy's kind of, beside himself. And the scriptures tell you, and was that 1 Corinthians 8, if a man think he knoweth a thing, he knoweth nothing as he ought to know. Let me see if I can find that. Let me get that real quick. It's a lot. 1 Corinthians 8, and I believe it's like around maybe 3, 2. Yep, it's 1 Corinthians 8, and I'll start at verse 1. It says, "Now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. And if any man think he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know." And what I observed from this brother right here is he goes by his own logic, as if the Lord is dealing with what a man thinks, based on his recollection or his opinions. All right, because when you listen to a lot of this video, he's not bringing out no scriptures whatsoever. So this guy is basically, he's wise in his own conceit. And let me get that too, because the Lord says to woe unto you if you have that spirit on you. Isaiah 5:21. And it says, "Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight." Yeah, man. Somebody that just, is very opinionated, they're trying to rationalize everything based off of their own logic. Woe unto you, man. Because at the end of the day, it's about if it lines up with the scriptures. All right, let me get Isaiah 8:20 now. Isaiah 8:20 says, "To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them." All right, the only wisdom that a man should be professing is this word, the law and the testimony. And the testimony ties into prophecy. And that's another thing that I noticed with a lot of you guys, that pop up on the scene. When you do all this talk about, you want to go into archaeology, you want to go into, the DNA, to be able to tell who's who on the earth. Well, if this was the ancient world, the priests would be using the Urim and the Thummim to figure out who is who. But we don't have that. All right. Right now we have an alternative, which is the law and the prophets. All right, because you go back into the Urim and the Thummim, that's what the priests had to use, as an oracle from the Most High. They wore the stones on their breastplate, and the priests would in order to get a divine answer from the Most High, they would use the Urim and the Thummim, which I believe the Urim means I think it means damn. Let me go to it. One of them means light, and the other means perfection. Yep, there's Leviticus 8:8. It says, "And he put the breastplate upon him. Also, he put in the breastplate the Urim and the Thummim." All right, when you look up Urim in the Hebrew is Awar Yum, which means basically light. The root word is awar, which means light. All right, lights. Okay, it says stones kept in a pouch on the high priest's breastplate, used in determining the Most High's decision in certain questions and issues. And it went along with the thamum. I believe the word thamum, the Hebrew word is tham yum, and it says perfection. Stones provided for the means of achieving a sacred lot, used with the Urim, the will of the Most High was revealed. And right now, because really the modern day Urim and Thummim is the internet, because that's where this is the World Wide Web where you can find all information. But we know that the Lord reveals His actual secrets to His servants, the prophets. So right now, in order for you to find out certain things, we got to go based on what the law and the prophets say, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, is because there is no light in them. All right, this dude right here, he knows he's an Israelite, and he can come up with all the knowledge and the books and the archaeology and this and that. He can do all these digs and do all this research to prove to you that the Negroes are Hebrews, but he does not have the unction. He's not a prophet. That's why he's teaching that run-down, tired doctrine of the so-called white man being Japheth and not Esau, Edom, which doesn't make any sense. If the Spirit of the Lord is dealing with you, then make it make sense, man, according to the scriptures. If the so-called white man is Japheth, then how do you prove that prophetically? All right, make it make sense eschatologically. What's the eschatology on Japheth? If you know anything about eschatology, what is it dealing with? Eschatology. And it says the part of theology concerned with death, judgment, and the final destination of the soul and of humankind. Down here it says eschatology is a part of theology concerned with the final events of history or the ultimate destiny of humanity. This concept is commonly referred to as the end of the world or end times. All right, so if you're going to make the claim that the so-called white man is Japheth and not Edom, then you have to prove that eschatologically or prophetically. Like, for example, Daniel, which the Lord, gave him that portion. Daniel was provided the eschatology on the dominions of the heathens ruling. The Lord gave him the chronology of the different dominions of the heathen nations. All right, starting from the Babylonians all the way to the Romans. So you got to decide, where do Japheth fit on that chronology? Matter of fact, let's deal with that real quick. Let's go to Daniel, the 7th chapter, because Daniel prophesied of there being 4 beasts during the time of Belshazzar under the Babylonian Empire, right? This is Daniel 7, and I guess I'll start at the top. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea, and 4 great beasts came upon the sea, diverse from one another. And then here's where the chronology starts. The beginning of the dominions of the major heathenistic empires, right? And it says the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And we all know that this lion is referring to the Babylonian Empire, which Nebuchadnezzar was slated to be that destroying lion, all right, who would be a destroyer of the Gentiles, man. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar, he had a great, powerful army, and he was able to, subdue the Assyrians as well as the Egyptians. So that was the first major empire, and we ended up getting carried away captive into Babylon. All right. So this was the first dominion of the heathens. All right, because Egypt, the Egyptian empire, yeah, that was before Babylon, but they ruled over their jurisdiction, which was the land of Martezarium, Egypt. Okay, but Babylon, this is when they got jurisdiction over vast territory. When they took down Assyria, when they took down Egypt, Babylon, the entire jurisdiction of the Babylonian rule extended from Egypt all the way to Babylon and Assyria. Okay, then the Lord rose up another nation that would take down the Babylonians. So let's read the next one. Daniel 7:5, it says, "And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh." Now, what is what is the second beast? Well, if you're this scholarly guy and the Spirit of the Lord is dealing with you, then you will be able to break that down. The bear is talking about the Medes, and then the Medes had their power, and then the Persians ended up taking over because the Persians were greater. All right, they were greater in power than the Medes, so it ended up becoming the Persian Empire, and it rose up through I believe it was Cyrus the Great, and I think it was him that conquered he conquered he conquered Media, he conquered Lydia, and he conquered Babylon. All right, those were the 3 ribs that was in the mouth, in between the teeth. All right, he rose up and took those empires down, and then the Persians began to rule. All right, but it started with the Medes, and let's go real quick to Isaiah, because Isaiah prophesied from when he was, and this was actually during the Assyrian Empire, when he prophesied that Babylon would be conquered by the Medes and the Persians. So let's go to Isaiah 21. This is Isaiah 21 and 1. It says, "The burden of the desert of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south pass through, so it cometh from the desert, from a terrible land. A grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and the spoiler spoileth. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media. All the sighing thereof have I made to cease." You see? So it was prophesied that both the Persians and the Medes would take down Babylon. And Isaiah saw that in the vision. All right. So now when you look up Media, we're going to see what nation were the Medes or Media. Which is Madaya. And it says Media or Medes or Mede, Middle Land, a people descended from the son of Japheth, and who inhabited the territory of Media. All right, so the Medes had their time on the chronology during the time of the Medes and the Persians, which eventually became the Persian, or the I think it was another term for it. I think it was called the Achaemenid Empire. That was another name for the Persian Empire, starting with Cyrus II. or Cyrus the Great. Okay, so Japheth had their time thousands of years ago. So like I said, how does it make sense that the so-called white man who's in power today, how is he Japheth? That doesn't make any sense. It does not add up eschatologically. Okay, we're dealing with the end times right now. We at the end, and who's in power? Who's in control of the global economic infrastructure, the monetary system, the IMF, the Federal Reserve, the central bank. All right, who controls the music industry? You know the answer to all this. Who has the earth been given into the hands of? Who covered the faces of the judges? Who did iconoclasm? That's not hard to understand. Now, when you go further on, as we get towards the end, all right, it says verse 6. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And of this leopard was Alexander the Great. All right, who pretty much founded the Greek Empire, which by this time the original people of Greece were Japheth. They were then pushed out, and the so-called white men took on the land of Japheth. That's why to this very day you're confused and you thinking that the so-called white man come from Japheth, because he's dwelt in the land of Japheth, which is mainly Europe and Asia Minor and parts of Asia. It's all inhabited by Esau. All right, because if that's the case, if you want to go by that logic that the white man is Japheth, then the Arabs and the so-called white man, they're Mizraim. They go back to Mizraim because they live in the land of Egypt. All right, you might as well say that the Jakes that are living in Africa, because they're living in the land of parts of Africa, then you might as well say that they're Hamites. See, this dude right here, he's just a carnal dude. All right, the things of the spirit, the natural man cannot understand. He cannot discern it because it's foolish unto him. That's why he's talking about Esau being ruddy and Solomon or David being called ruddy. And he can't even distinguish the two. And there was a reason why the word red was used in context in reference to Esau, and the word ready was used in context of in reference to David. Ruddy in that context, dealing with David, was describing his youthful appearance. Man, he had a glow, like he was healthy. His skin was smooth. It had a glow to it, man. And you look up ruddy, you're gonna see that glow, that brown glowing hue. All right. Hey, you look at Jake's color brown, and you look at a Hamite's color brown. There's a difference, man. We have that natural glow. Ham got that ashy brown, super dark, ashy. Nothing ruddy about Ham. All right. Esau, when he came out the womb, he was red all over. And to remind you, him and his brother Jacob were fighting in the womb. Everybody knows when you get physical with an Edomite, or you put hands and feet on him, he gets super red. He's super red. So after Jacob was putting hands and feet on Esau in the womb, because they struggled in the womb, Esau came out first. He came out all red, man, after getting stumped out by his brother Jacob, man. And when he was getting put out the womb, Jacob, held his hand to the heel of his foot. Which that was symbolic, because it tells you, going to 2nd Ezra 6, that Esau will be the end of the world, the end of an age. But you know what? Before I even, because I'm jumping the gun by even mentioning that, let's go back to Daniel 7. So we all know that this is the leopard is talking about Alexander, and the four wings or the four heads. That was the four generals up under Alexander. Which, when you break them all down, you know, you had Cassander, you had Lysimachus, Seleucus, and you had Ptolemy, which, you know, you had the Seleucids and the Ptolemies. They ended up becoming two dynasties. One ruled the south, one ruled the north. The Seleucids ruled the north, the Ptolemies ruled the south. All right, and the Lord gave dominion to the Greeks for a couple hundred years until the Romans came into power. Okay, Esau started to move in. All right, and then also in the Apocrypha, when you read upon Alexander, his lineage go back to Haman, the Agagite. So these were straight up Edomites. All right, because Agag, you know, he was a second in command under King Ahasuerus or Xerxes. And then by the time the Persians fell, that's who they was fighting with. They was fighting with Edomites. That's why you're not supposed to have this devil nigh unto you. You know? So anyway, verse 7, and here's the point. And it says, and after this I saw in the night visions, and beheld a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. You know, because they ruled literally with a iron fist. Even their armor and the weapons were made with iron. That's what separated them from these other nations, man. The way they ruled, their structure was different. They were an empire that, you know, men could get voted in. All the previous empires, you know, the king had to you know, be a successor. Okay, or he had to be born of, you know, as an heir to the previous king. But under the Roman Republic, you know, they had a new system, and they had a powerful army, and they spread themselves all over, and they took over the provinces that were formerly controlled by the Greeks. They just basically assimilated into the Roman Empire, and they still kept the gods of the Greeks. They just, you know, renamed them. But they still did the same thing that the Greeks were doing. Okay, that was the start of Esau ruling on the earth. It tells you in the Apocrypha that when the Greeks began to rule, that was when wickedness multiplied. And what does it say about Esau, Edom? Let's go to Malachi 1 and verse 4. And it says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord having indignation forever. So, hey, the Lord said that they would be the border of wickedness. When the Greeks came into power, wickedness multiplied on the earth. And we're looking at the condition of the earth right now. There's nothing but wickedness going on. Okay? You got the Edomite Pope in Vatican City, Pope Francis. You know, he's endorsing for civil union laws to protect homosexuals. He said showing homosexual tendencies is not a sin. So we all know what he's, you know, what he's down with. All right. But a bunch of pedophiles up in the Catholic Church, a lot of them are Edomites. So anyway, going back, you know, it goes into the three horns, and I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna go all the way into that. But what I will do is show that that same beast will be in power when our Lord returns. Right? Let's get that. Daniel 7. And I'm going to jump down to verse 12. It says, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, including Japheth, when he was ruling as the Medes. yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. But they're still here today. And I saw in the night's visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations and tongues should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. And that's talking about the kingdom which we're awaiting. All right, when Yahawashi comes back with the angels, he's going to have those crowns upon his head. All right, which John the Revelator saw in the vision. Okay. So anyway, let me jump down. And it says, I'm gonna read 17. It says, these great beasts, which are 4 and 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were on his head, which represented 10 kingdoms, and of the other which came up, before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout, more bold than his fellows. And that's talking about America, man. Okay, and what empire did America stem from? Great Britain. Great Britain was among those 3. And that's how America got its independence. You had the Great Britain, you had the Spanish that came along, and you also had the French. Okay? The United States ended up winning that war with Great Britain and declared its independence. And they put hell on Jake. They put us in slavery. They slaughtered a lot of us. All right? They slaughtered Gad and Reuben. All right? Removed Issachar. It says, I behold, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. And I just mentioned that. Until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possess the kingdom. And thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth. All right, which Yahawashi is going to come and take down this 4th beast, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Now, Prophet Ezra goes even more in depth on this beast. And let's go to that real quick. And this is how you prove eschatologically that Esau is the so-called white man. All right, 2nd Esdras. I'm gonna go to 2nd Esdras 12 first, because he was given a vision of, the 4th beast, which was an eagle that had, all these 4 wings, and it had 12 feathers, which those 12 feathers represented the 12 Caesars of Rome. Okay. Now I'm gonna just get straight to the point. This is 2nd Esdras 12, in verse 8. It says, comfort me then, and show me thy servant the interpretation and plain difference of this fearful vision, that thou mayest perfectly comfort my soul. For thou hast judged me worthy to shew me the last times. And he said unto me, this is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle whom thou sawest whom thou sawest come up from the sea, is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. Okay, but it was not expounded unto him. Therefore now I declare it unto thee. Showing you that we prophesy, we see in part, and we prophesy in part. All right, the Lord gave more of the portion of that understanding to Ezra than Daniel. Daniel just saw an overview of these different beasts, but Ezra, he was given more detail upon that 4th beast. All right. So anyway, let's go from there, and let's go to the previous chapter. Because it talks, you know, this is when he first seen the vision of this eagle with 12 feathers. All right. Now let's jump down to towards the end of the chapter, and let's read. And it says, I'm gonna start at verse 38, and it says, "Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times," meaning the end of the ages of the heathen, all right, basically, when the Lord said, Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. That was the last beast, which was Rome, because it was the Romans that besieged Jerusalem and had our land trodden down. Okay, and that same beast, when you go into Revelation, the 12th chapter and in the 13th chapter, it talks about how that same beast, his wound would be healed. So that means that the Lord will revive this this beast, this empire. Let me see, 13th chapter. There's Romans 13:1. It says, "And I stood upon the sea, the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns," the same thing that Daniel saw. "And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." Okay, and that's, you know, what they did. They came out of the bottomless pit, and they lied to the whole entire planet Earth. They took over the theology of the Most High with Roman Catholicism and whitewashed it, and went out and conquered the earth, you know, with the false prophet, Roman Catholicism. Blasphemed the tabernacle of the Most High, the angels, his people, said that he was the chosen. All right, and what was those 10 regions, the 10 countries that started this power structure that you see today? The EU, all right, which it was formed through NATO first, you know, which, you know, they came together, you know, as a conglomerate of nations to form a military conglomerate to face the Russians, to combat those Russians, man. And when you go back to the beginning or the start of the European empire, it started off as the European Economic Community. Let me see. Let me get that. It was founded in 1954 in Paris, France. And let's go to Britannica.com. And this is, you know, guys like this, he will not go this deep into it. All right, because, you know, the Lord is, you know, he has a certain little portion, you know, he can go into the fact that we're Israelites, but he can't go into prophecy, man, because he doesn't have that spirit. All right, but anyway, this is the Western European Union to show its connection with prophecy. You'll notice that it started with 10 countries. Western European Union, a former association, 1955 to 2011, of 10 countries: Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and the UK, which is Great Britain, Ireland. All right, that's 10 kingdoms, and it says that operates as a form of the coordination of matters of European security and defense. It contributed to the creation of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and worked in cooperation with that organization. And that's where America is connected, because America is part of NATO. And that's and America being, the most powerful NATO country, America actually rides this alliance. Okay, they enforce their policies. You see how Trump talks down upon NATO at those summits. That's the whore that rides the beast. Trump representing Babylon, the great whore, and NATO representing these other countries under NATO or the EU. Okay, and then also NATO, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the elders broke it down that at the NATO headquarters, it started off with 10 flags, and then when they start to add these other nations into NATO, which I think they're now 28 delegations, they added the rest of the flagpoles, but it started off with 10. So that's how you know that this current system is the beast having 7 heads and 10 horns. And it says, going back to Revelation 13:2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. And why? Because Esau got his start through the Greeks. The Greeks already had Esau established. So all they had to do was just, formulate their structure through Rome, even though they still had the customs and the fashion of the Greeks amalgamated into their empire. Okay? It says, and his feet were like the feet of a bear, which the Greeks took down, the Persians, which represented the bear. But in this time, all right, Babylon the Great is going to be taken down by the actual Russians, which are the modern day Medes. This NATO, this beast, the Lord's going to use the Russians to actually to help take down the beast. And that's the reason why the Lord had them form together to be as a arch rival against the Soviet Union, which later on just became just Russia, and now Russia got Crimea, and they're still working on trying to get Ukraine back into the Union. Those Eastern Bloc countries. But anyway, going back, it says, in his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And that's talking about Great Britain. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. So basically, the beast was slain, but then the Lord healed it and brought him back. And that's what happened when the Lord, loosed them out of the bottomless pit, which represents Europe, because Europe is a low land. These devils came back out of the caves during the time that Jake was starting to fall, all right, which were the Moors at the time. When Jacob ruled over Europe and parts of Asia, in northern Africa, Timbuktu, Carthage, which was all Islamic. And then of course, during that time, you had the rise of Ishmael. The Islamic conquest started to happen, and Ishmael started to come in. And then later on, Esau came in during the time of was that the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and that was when Esau came into Turkey, and they began to start to rule, and they had adopted Islam, and they start to take over. Then Jake started to fall. All right. Then the Lord plagued us with the Black Plague, and that took away a lot of us. That gave Esau that advantage for him to come into power, because it was prophecy. So we're dealing with the last beast. After Jake fell, the beast would be the last one standing before YAHAWASHI comes back. Who's in power? Take a look around. Who's in rulership, man? Okay. Who's your governors? Who's your your senators. Who's the president? So let's go back to 2nd Ezra 11. We got to make this make sense in a prophetic sense, man. That's how you know, all right, who's who in the last days, man. Dealing with the prophecies, the law in the testimony. All right, the law in itself is an oracle. All right, so it's like we use the prophecies as like a Urim and a Thummim because that's our light. So let's keep going. It says, matter of fact, I want to read this in another version. Let's look up 2nd Ezra 11:39 in the GNT. I want to read it in that version. Let's go right here. And let's jump down to the 39th verse. And it says, I'll start at 38. It says, listen, eagle, that same eagle that Daniel saw, right? To what I have to say to you, it is the message of God the Most High, Yahawah. You are the only one left of the 4 animals that I appointed to govern my world and to bring the ages of this world to an end. You see that? So Esau is going to be the last final dominion to bring in the end of the world of the nations ruling. And then it's going to be the kingdom, the dominion of YAHAWASHI in the Israelites. That's going to be an everlasting dominion. And let's tie this together with Obadiah, because it tells you that Obadiah, that Esau would exalt himself as the eagle. Obadiah 1:1, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord power, concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle, which the Lord is putting a spirit on these other nations to come against Esau, Edom. All right, even America's own allies, and they're turned against each other. You got a division within the beast. Going back to Daniel, when you read the 2nd chapter, you know, which it breaks down the beast not by animal symbols, but by the different metals. Okay, the head of gold, the breastplate of silver, the thigh of brass, and the leg of iron, the legs and feet of iron, which the toes, which is the same as the beast having 7 heads and 10 horns. It tells you that part of it was iron and the other part was clay, and that they would not basically come together. They would be divided. So there's even a division among them. But one thing's for sure is they're going to be divided, and they're going to come against America. So Esau, he's going to have a ultimate battle on his hands, man. That everybody's going to be against him, even himself. So continuing on, it says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. Everybody hates this devil. All right. So how is Esau Japheth? Japheth ain't fitting any of these things that we're reading about. There's no mention of Japheth anywhere. It says, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the clefts of the rock, which that was his habitation. He dwelt in the caves. It says, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's the pride of Esau, man, thinking that he'll never be brought down. You know, he has his space force, he has his space station, he has his satellites, he has his artificial intelligence, his technology. This is what he has on the earth right now. He thinks that he's bigger and mightier than the Most High. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. And I'm going back to the 60s. He claimed that he went to the to outer space. And when they claimed that they landed on the moon, they said the eagle has landed. And around that time is when the truth began to surface, and that was when he started to fall down. Okay, you start to see Jake rise up. Jake started to come into the knowledge of the truth of being Israelites. So that lets you know who this devil is, man. He ain't no freaking Japheth, man. So back in 2nd Ezra 11, it says, as verse 40, it says, "You are the fourth animal, and you have conquered all animals that came before you. As long as you have been in this world, you have ruled it through terror." Right? He done brought all type of terror to the earth, man. You know, he brought, first and foremost, he brought terror to Jacob when he conquered, when he came over here and colonized and conquered the Americas. He did it through terrorism, man. You know, slaughtered Gad, Reuben, pushed back Issachar, slaughtered them, conquered them, made them speak Spanish, divided us up. You know, that's what he did. All right. It says oppression. He came over here and he exploited, you know, the labors of our people after he conquered us and made all his wealth. He took the land and occupied it for himself. And it tells you that in Micah 2:10. I mean, not in Micah 2:10, Micah 2:2. Micah 2:2, and it says, "And they cover fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage." And that's what he did when he came over to the Americas, man. He also did it in Australia against the actual Japhites. The Aborigines over there in Australia and over in New Zealand, man, them British went over there and slaughtered them and took that land to their own possession. So now it's a British colony, man. He went all throughout Africa and colonized it and forced them to keep their whitewash Catholicism. So you got a lot of Jakes over there and Hamites that are either Christian or Muslim, because Esau put a foot up their ass and Ishmael also put a foot up their ass. Okay, and they also came and possessed our land, a land that don't belong to them. That's another clue. It tells you in Ezekiel the 36th chapter that Idumea and all the residue of the heathen would take possession of the Holy Land. So what say ye? These are all clues that show you that Esau is the end of the world, man. They're in power, man. They have all the lands. They got them named after them. They hiding their identity, their true identity, behind these lands, man. He's not a Native American. He's not a European. He's not an Australian. He's not a African. He wants to be everything, man. No, he's an Edomite. And prophecy it further proves it. So continuing on, it says, "And deceit. He deceived the whole world. Told the world that he was the Jew. He was an Israelite. That the Most High is a so-called white man. Right? Deceived the whole world. The Big Bang Theory, evolution. That's all deceit. Hollywood. It's all about deception, man." It says, "With a total disregard for truth." You know, he hates the truth, man. It says the wicked are estranged as soon as they be born, speaking lies. All right. The devil, he hates the truth. It says, "You have viciously attacked harmless people who are living in peace." And I just gave you examples of that. Right? He done turned whole cities into a desolate wilderness, man. People that were living in peace, they had a little thing going, man. You know? Because they didn't want to play ball. They didn't want to take on the petrodollar. They want to use real money, which was gold and silver, you know, as a reserve to back their currency that they were going to trade in. And Esau would pay them a visit. He would fund, you know, rebels, you know, terrorists, just like he's doing now in Syria to this day. He's done it in Iraq. He's did it in Libya. He's done it down in Venezuela. Okay, this is what he's done. He did it, and he did it to us. When we was on the west coast of Africa, all of the Gold Coast of Africa. When we was in Europe, when Gad and Reuben were over here living in peace in the Americas, this is what he did. It says, you have hated those who spoke the truth, i.e. the prophets, and you have loved liars. You have destroyed the homes of those who were prosperous and have torn down the walls of those who did you no harm. The Most High God, or Yahweh, knows how proud and arrogant you are. You know, the pride of his heart have deceived him, man. He's very proud and arrogant. But just look at Donald Trump, man. It says that Almighty One has looked back over the world he established. The end has come. The final age is over. So, eagle, the time has come for you to vanish, along with your big, terrible wings, your small, wicked wings, your evil heads, your awful claws that he was, he was stamped down, with the residue of the heathen, and your whole worthless body. The entire world will be set free from your violence. And how is that going to happen? When the Lord comes back. All right, this war is going to pass away with fervent heat and a great noise. He's going to melt this place. And then it's going to be a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. That's what's going to basically rejuvenate the earth. It says, and renewed as it sets its hope on the judgment and mercy of the Most High who created it. So the earth is going to be renewed. It's going to be restored, man. All right. So basically, when Esau is over with, then it's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. All right. Let me get 2 Ezra 6 and 9. Second Ezra 6 and 9. It says, I'll start at verse 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall the end of the first and the beginning of it followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, the end of an age. All right, he's going to be the one to bring the end of an age for all heathens ruling. He's the last heathen that's going to be ruling. And you're going to see that under his rule, the earth was under total desecration, man. That's why Babylon is known as the destroying mountain, which destroys all the earth. So when YAHAWASHI comes back, he has to destroy those which destroyeth the earth. That's Revelation 11 and 18. That way the earth can go back to righteousness, man. That way the order could be reestablished on the earth. Because the earth is suffering, man. It's defiled by the inhabitants thereof. It mourneth and fadeth away. Under Esau's reign, it says, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay? So, prophetically, eschatologically, the so-called white man fits the bill. All right? He fits the bill as Esau, Edom, not Japheth. It spoke nothing of Japheth. Japheth already had their time to rule. All right? So, hey, yeah, you can sit in your car and talk about, based on your logic, what you think is right and what isn't. But hey, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it's because there's no light in them. Okay? You're wise in your own conceit. Hey, the foolishness of the Most High is wiser than men. All right? So, hey, Sakari shouldn't even waste their time with you, man. They shouldn't even waste their time with you. So anyway, I'm going to end the lesson here, and I hope you brothers and you few sisters were watching. I hope you were edified. I'm going to go ahead and premiere this. And, that's pretty much it, man. So with that, I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem YAHAWASHI. Double honor to my teachers, the elder apostles of the great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.